Namaste and welcome. It's Rishi here from meditatewithrishi.com, and today we are continuing exploring the Buddhism philosophy. So in the last video we looked at the story of how Siddhartha became the Buddha, okay? And we established that when he began his journey, after trying a few different practices, the first thing that he established is that the path that he takes should not be too tight, too austere, or too soft or too luxurious. It should be the middle path, essentially. This is the way that he can guarantee success, the way that he can guarantee to remain healthy in the body in order to find the truth. Okay? So, just like in the other philosophies, we are going to be answering the three main questions, which are: why do we suffer? What is the way to get out of that suffering? And what is the nature of the self? Who am I, according to the Buddhist philosophy? Okay? Now, the Buddhist philosophy is one that a lot of people are interested in, a lot of you want to actually follow. So we'll be going a bit deeper into this philosophy, and I'm going to answer the three questions over multiple videos. Today, we are going to answer only the question: what is the cause of suffering according to Buddhism? What did the Buddha say is the reason that we suffer as human beings? Okay, so let us get into it. Now, very simply, very straightforward, the Buddha discovered that the cause of suffering, why we suffer, is because we are ignorant about our true nature. We are ignorant about how the world works, how the universe works. Now, you've heard this before. So specifically, the Buddha is saying that we are ignorant about the impermanence of things. We are ignorant about the impermanence. So ignorance about impermanence of things is why we suffer. So let's think about this for a second. Everything in life is impermanent. The Buddha is asking us to realize that everything is impermanent. Your life is impermanent. You have come, you will go. So will every other being on this planet, right? Happiness and sadness, our emotions are temporary. They come and they go. They come and they go. Your success and your failure is also temporary. It will come and it will go. It is very cyclical. Any pain or pleasure that you feel is also temporary. Nothing is permanent. Nothing is permanent. Your relationships with your spouse, with your children, with your friends, they also are impermanent. Even in the course of your life, there are so many relationships that come and go. And of course, when we all go, then the relationships naturally cease to exist. So there is nothing actually that is permanent in this world. Everything is temporary. Everything is impermanent. So what? So the point is that we do not realize this. We do not live like we know this. We live as if everything is permanent and that we will never have to lose anything. At the back of your mind, everything, whether it's the parents and their kids, they want their kids to love them forever and be in their lives forever. If you have just gotten into a new relationship, in your mind, this is going to last forever. There is just no end to it. And when that end comes, it creates a lot of suffering in us. It creates a lot of suffering. I've just come back to Nairobi after being in the UK for a very long time. And I'm here for a short time and I meet a lot of my old friends' parents. And I see that, when I was in school with them, everything was so lively. We were all going to each other's places, very lively environment, very happening environment. And now that my friends have essentially, got married or are living separately or living in a different country, the parents find themselves in a house that is empty. The same amount of energy, activity, laughter, sadness that was there is just not there anymore, right? So even as a parent, when you have kids, we want it to last forever, but at the back of our mind, there should be this knowledge that this is impermanent, but this knowledge is not there. It is often not there, and this is why it leads to suffering. So here's what the Buddha is saying, that the reason for our suffering is the fact that we are ignorant about the impermanence of things. We do not realize that things are temporary, essentially. And because we do not realize that things are temporary, it leads to attachment. It leads to attachment. So this attachment that we have toward things, we try to grasp everything. We do not like to let go of things and let nature take its course. We like to grasp things. Anything that you think of, you make it your essentially life's mission to obtain that thing. We try to grasp things. And because we try to grasp things, that leads to desire. It creates a desire in us to want to hold onto something forever. You see many times, even when a relationship is no longer working, people are trying to grasp, to hold on to it, because they have this attachment. They do not realize that things are temporary, things are impermanent. And when we have a desire for something, when we desire something, think about it. Anything that you desire, right? You will try to obtain it. You will take some actions to obtain this. You will do some karma to obtain this and to keep it. So desire is what leads to karma, which is action. And when we perform actions, they will have results. The results can be of two types. The result can be either good or it can be a bad result. So if it is a good result, it will make us happy. And if it is a bad result, it will make us sad, essentially. Now remember that in life, the only thing that is in our control is the actions that we take. The results are often not in our control. So this is the cycle that we go through. Because we're ignorant about the impermanence of things, we become attached. Attachment causes desire, and desire causes us to act in this world, to do karma in this world. And when we do karma, it will lead to either good results or bad results, which lead to either happiness or suffering. And this is the cycle, essentially. This is the cycle that we go through. So we saw this in the yoga philosophy as well, that based on the karmas that we do or life that we go through a cycle of happiness, sadness, happiness, sadness, happiness, sadness, happiness, sadness. And this is the cycle, essentially, that keeps us in the prison of the karmic cycle. There is no permanent happiness. Even happiness itself is not permanent. And one very important thing to note is that even when you are happy, if you have done some good karma and it has caused happiness, it has brought pleasure into your life, this happiness as well is not 100%. There is always this fear in us of losing what we have. A perfect example of this is if you go on holiday. Let's say you're on a holiday for 2 weeks, and by the time you're in there for 5, 6, 7 days, then you start thinking that, okay, now I'm gonna have to leave in some time and go back to my job, go back to my school, go back to whatever. And even though you're enjoying, there is still this fear that I'm gonna have to go back, how is it gonna be, how will I adjust again, all these things. Or if you have a relationship, if you're in high school and you have, been able to get the most beautiful girl in the school, and now you're happy that, wow, look at me, I have such an amazing girlfriend. But everyone is also trying to chase that same girlfriend. And you have this fear in you of losing that. So even when you are completely happy, it is not 100%. So think about the way that we live our life. Because we are ignorant about impermanence, we become attached and we have desires. And we spend our entire life, think about everything that you do the entire day. You go to work, you try to earn money to fulfill these desires. We do all the actions. Some things work out, some things don't. Even when things work out, there is a fear of losing them. It's always at the back of our mind because deep down we know that things are impermanent. There is this fear, essentially. So the Buddha is saying that life is actually full of suffering. And this is not meant in a negative way. It is meant in a very realistic way. Because life is full of suffering, right? You do actions, either you suffer because you don't get what you want. And even if when you get what you want, you are happy, but deep down, there's also this suffering. So life essentially is full of suffering. So the question is, can there be a way to not go through this, essentially? Can there be a way to have permanent happiness? To have permanent bliss, essentially, and not suffer, not be in this cycle that we all live in because we don't perhaps know any better, right? We are asleep. He was the Buddha because he was awake, the awakened one. We are all sleeping, which is why we do not know. So is there a way out of the suffering? Is there a way to be completely free of the suffering? And the Buddha says that yes, there is a way to do that. There is a way to do that. And he gives us an exact step-by-step process of doing this. The first thing he tells us to understand are the 4 noble truths. The 4 noble truths about life, about the universe, about how things work. And once you know these 4 noble truths, then I will give you an exact step-by-step path to follow, which is the Eightfold Path in Buddhism. Very similar to the yogic Eightfold Path, Patanjali's Eightfold Path. So these are the 2 things that we will explore in the upcoming videos. But today, we have answered the question, what is the cause of suffering? And after looking at the parts, later on, and especially in the courses that I'll be running, we will see the practices employed within Buddhism, the meditative practices, like Vipassana, like Zen, and really dig deep into how to essentially do these practices with the understanding of this philosophy, and hence be able to liberate ourselves from the cycle of happiness and sadness, good and bad, life and death, essentially. So that is all. Thank you very much for listening. Namaste.